All right, so we're looking at the underside of my Kossel Plus here, and been taking it apart because the lights have been flickering, high power has been an issue. The low voltage side for the Raspberry Pi has been fine, but the 12 volt side for the heaters and everything else has been pretty flaky. And we thought we'd do some investigating. Popped open the power supply yesterday and found some nice crispy falling apart components right around through here, which is a pretty good sign of something not going exactly right. Sorry I didn't record the going through and troubleshooting and figuring out everything for the power supply yesterday, but such is life. So power supplies aren't something I mess with, so therefore I have ordered a replacement, and whereas this one is your traditional cheap imported garbage, you can see on, if you look at the fan here, it's got a really interesting quality of a fan that's been in a power supply for quite a long time, and that's that there is very little, almost no dust on it. If you look under the fins there, you can just barely see a little coating of dust. But yeah, by and large, it looks like this fan has basically never been on, which makes it much less surprising that various components inside this thing overheated and blew up and it stopped working. So we have decided we were going to replace it not with more cheap Chinese garbage, but actually with a nice Meanwell power supply. Ordered off of Amazon, of course, and I'll include a link down below. And yeah, let's get to unboxing. Looks like we've got a NES 3012, 12 volts, 29 amps. Genuine Meanwell. We are, let's see, are we set where we want? Looks like we are set to 230. We're going to want that to not be 230, and we're going to want that to be 110. Let's see if we can flip that switch. There we go. Now that is where we want it. Nothing interesting there, nothing interesting there. And that's about what it is. Let's hope this fan winds up working better than the last one. Alrighty, so now let's actually get to replacing this thing. First off, we're going to look and see if the wiring connections are the same. So on the old one, we had this nice panel that flips down. Can't complain about that. And then the actual connections are on this guy. Let's see if we can get him in focus. And looking at comparing that to the new one, it looks like things line up. And looking a little more deeply into it, it does look like the Chinese one is basically a clone of the Meanwell, except interestingly, the Meanwell has this little pop-off rail here without the hinge, which to me makes it much more likely to lose, which kind of sucks. I actually like the cheap Chinese version for that better. But let's go ahead and start disconnecting and reconnecting things. Now, of course, before we go anywhere, we want to make sure we don't have power. So just in case anybody was not completely convinced that we're not plugged in, here is the whole wire here, and we are not plugged in. This is also something I'm going to be very happy to get rid of. When I got this printer a long time ago, it has a plug that is definitely not a United States plug. Focus, please. There we go. And it came with this little adapter guy, which is just an absolutely horrible way to run a 3D printer. Thank you, BQ, for having a bunch of cheap crap. So let's get back to work over here. All right. So I guess to start with, we'll take our new power cord. So new is, of course, a relative term here. This power cord used to belong to a power strip, which died long ago. It's been sitting in a box for a while. Figured now is as good a time as any to put it back in service. So in order to do that, we're going to trim the ends to be the same length. Let's see, do we really want them to be the same length? Let's see, we want our ground wire there, our hot wire is going to connect over in there, and our ground is going to, our neutral is going to ground there, neutral. Yeah, neutral goes there. So playing with colors here. Note we've got green, white, and black on this side, and blue, green, and brown on this side. So green is your universal ground, no matter what country you're in. And then blue is your neutral for the European standard. And brown is your hot line. And in the US, it's white is your hot line and black is your neutral. All right, so we're going to trim these guys off so they're all about the same length. Those in the trash. Then we will strip the three ends. See if I can do this in one take without chopping any of the ends off. Easier said than done, but it looks like we pulled it off. There we go. All right. So from here, we'll connect our screwdriver. All right. So we're going to connect our live and neutral. So live. So we'll connect our neutral and our ground. And we're going to leave our live will be wired up a little bit differently because this machine is set up with a relay that can disconnect the main power. So we're just going to do the ground and the live here. Or sorry, the ground and the neutral. Okay, here we're actually going to switch screwdrivers here because my little Phillips head that I was using actually can't get nearly enough leverage to break these loose. They're a little tighter than I expected. So we're going to break these loose here, and then we'll go back and finish it up with the Phillips. Or maybe we'll just use the flat blade again. Though I am not a huge fan of flat blade screwdrivers for fairly obvious reasons here as I'm finagling through this. All right. So back to here, we will loosen up the ground and we will loosen up the neutral, and we'll attach These two, oh, need to get a better twist on him. Try this again. And we will line those two up like so. Okay, so that's those two. Put that guy over there so that it doesn't knock things over. And then let's move the power. This is the line that comes back from the relay. So the line coming back from the relay here. You'll note this is a lot heavier power cord than we actually need here, but better oversized than undersized. All right, and then the live wire coming from the wall is this guy here. The brown wire on the Euro connector. And that's this guy here. So we can bring these two together with the wire nut. Not super happy with the wire nut as the end game solution here, but it does the job. These are the same things that are inside your normal light switches and electrical outlets. So if they're good enough to do the job there, they should be good enough to do the job here. Give that a little tug, make sure it's not going anywhere. All right. What else have we got going on here? Let's see, something else worth noting here. You can't really see it from this angle, but right here, this is actually a fused link. So this live wire here is fused in case anything bad happens. That fuse will blow instead of starting a fire or other terrible things. So we can move on down the line here on the old power supply, and we can disconnect the other colors for the Euro plug. This guy is now done and can go in the trash box, because if I never need a Euro plug again, that'll be just fine. So that guy can just go away. So now we are down to the rest of our powered connections. So we've got a few different connections here. This little itty bitty one here is for the lights. The kind of medium size one here goes up and runs the heater on the hot end, and these big guys here go over to the let's see, wait, no, that's wrong, sorry. The little ones here are the lights. These middle-sized ones actually run the always-on fan on the up on the nozzle, you can see they go up here into the conduit that winds up going up to the top and coming back down to the nozzle. So yeah, these run the always on fan on the heatsink. So anytime the heater's on, that fan is on. And then the big ones here go up to, you can see they come up over here and are the main higher voltage 12 volt input to the controller board, which then, you know, drives the heaters and the steppers and everything else with that. So let's see if we can keep everything organized here when disconnecting. So we'll loosen that one, loosen this one. Don't have a lot of play in the wires, so I can't really just put these wherever I want them. So I'm gonna have to loosen everyone over here and then swap the new power supply over here. So once again, I'm not a fan of the straight blade screwdriver, but I apparently need and don't have a number 2 Phillips. I have a number 1 and a number 3. I don't know, whatever the giant one is. But my number 2 has wandered away for the time being, so we work with what we've got. So if we disconnect everyone from the old power supply, pull that off, and we can take the old power supply out of frame, add it to the trash box, and we can scoot the new power supply now over so that we can reach all of the connections again. All right, before we go too far here, I want to just check and make sure that everything's going to be working on this guy and that we'll be getting our power and ground. So just loosen that guy up. Try this again. All right. So I'll put that guy over there. And we'll put this guy right here. Those don't need to be super tight. All right. And before we do anything else, we'll plug in the Raspberry Pi that drives this thing. And then we will plug in this guy. However, it's not quite as long as the old one. Makes things a little more interesting. All right, now if we click the relay, hopefully we'll see 12 volts on the power meter. Look at that. All right, when we power it on, see a little LED comes on the power supply. It's kind of nice. Goes off. See how long it takes the power supply LED to go off. There it goes. It's on. 12 volts. And off. So that part's all working. So we're happy there. All right. So now we unplug the power supply again so that we don't accidentally kill ourselves. We will get this guy out of the picture. And then let's go ahead and start attaching things. So, all right, so these guys are going to come out the top, well, bottom when it's the other way. So this one goes here. Make sure we're not tangled. This one goes here. All right. Then Next, we've got this is another fused link here, and this is the one that goes up to the fan. This one, even though it's just a fan, I'm still fusing it because it is a moving wire. It goes up through the umbilical that goes to the head and everything. And this machine has caught on fire prior to my modifications, and I'd like to not repeat that incident. If you want a little more detail on that, I'll include a link in the description below that links to an old blog post of mine from when that fire happened. Now, this one is really tight. I didn't really give myself any room to work with here. Howsoever, there is actually a connector over here that I should be able to disconnect. Then this will at least get us some room to work with, and then we'll tighten it back up when it's all installed again. So we'll take our hot wire here. And much tinier wires than the other ones. There we go. Got him under there. Tighten him up. And that one's ground. And tighten him up a little bit. Now come back and actually tighten everything down nice and snug using the flat blade where I can get some torque on these. That one was pretty loose. Tighten him up. There we go. And the last one here, tighten him up. Okay. So pretty sure I already tightened these, but may as well check. Better safe than sorry. Yep, that's tight. That's tight. And that's tight. All right. So now one more check on everything. Everyone's good and happy there. That's good. That's tight. That's tight. That's tight. That's tight. Not super stoked with that crimp-on insulator there, but because it's ground, I'm not all that concerned about insulating it. All right, given how short this power line is over here, I must have actually mounted this way before. Let's see if I can figure out how to do this. All right, get this thing out of the way. This is the power cord for the Raspberry Pi. That's all right. So this winds up going up like that, maybe. No, because there are the holes there. Maybe this way. How did I do this? Let's see. There we go. So if that goes like that. All right. I guess it goes that way. So I probably should have run all of those the other direction. Let's, because I don't really want them coming out the bottom of the machine like that, considering how low those are. So we'll speed this part up so that it's not super boring for you, but I'm going to flip all these over. All right, so that's done. Not sure how much of that lost due to the only 10 minutes of video that my phone will shoot at a time. But now, with all of that up on the top side, looks like things will go a little easier back up together. Let's see where all things go. Okay. And we've got the screws for this guy. Good, the old screws even fit. Can't actually see what I'm doing here. All right. Then you can see that that is back in there. Really tight. It sits right at the bottom level there. Oh no. Son of a bitch. All right. So now that that guy is back in there, all of the power connections seem to be good. Can try plugging it back in. Oh. Before we do that, put our little, see if we can put a little safety cover back. This is pretty freaking janky. I really like the hinged one on the cheap Chinese supply a lot better. But it does the job. We'll reconnect our lights here and turn it on and see what happens. Hey, our lights come on. So that appears to be working. Let's see what happens if we try to actually drive it. See if it'll hum. All right, that sounds good. Everything seems back to normal. So we'll just stand her back up and give you a long shot. And that's about it for today. Thank you for watching, and hit like, hit subscribe. If you want to see more of this, you know what to do. Thanks.